This is the Washington Times front page for Monday, September 27th, 2021. Thanks for starting your week with us. I'm George Gerbo. We start on Capitol Hill, where with votes expected this week on two massive spending bills, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has no room for error in bringing together far-left and moderate Democrats to score a needed win for President Biden. Congressional reporters Kerry Pickett and Mika Selner report Pelosi has enlisted reinforcements such as organized labor and liberal activists to call or pay visits to lawmakers' offices. They're prodding Democrats to back both the $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill that's favored by moderates and a $3.5 trillion social spending bill, which is prized by liberals. The pressure campaign is escalating quickly. The House could vote early this week on the infrastructure bill, and Pelosi's pledged to follow it up with a vote on the bigger social package soon after. Democratic lawmakers privately told Kerry and Mika that Pelosi's intimate knowledge of each caucus member's district allows her to make careful calculations about how far she can push them. In Afghanistan, Taliban leaders have returned to some of their draconian tactics, as images from the country showed 4 dead bodies hanging from a crane in the town of Herat. Pentagon correspondent Ben Wolfgang reports Taliban officials did not deny responsibility for the display and said the 4 men had been caught in a kidnapping scheme. It wasn't immediately clear whether the men had been involved in a kidnapping. Over the past several days, watchdogs warned that the Taliban had begun a significant rollback of human rights. Taliban leaders publicly acknowledged they would resume executions and amputations for criminals. Those punishments were a hallmark of the Afghan justice system when the Taliban were previously in control in the 1990s. On immigration, Utah state officials have warned sheriffs that Honduran gangs have stepped up drug trafficking in the state, one of many places in the interior of the country that's experiencing an after effect from what's happening at the southern U.S. border. Stephen Dinan reports Customs and Border Protection has nabbed nearly 180,000 pounds of methamphetamine so far this year, a record. Also seized have been 10,000 pounds of fentanyl, breaking last year's record of about 4,800 pounds. The drug flow is up for several reasons, but analysts repeatedly point to the level of distraction for agents and officers. They've been pulled from their regular duties and tasked with processing evacuees from Afghanistan and tending to the large numbers of migrant children and families that have come across the border since January. A reminder that you can find all these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page. Don't have access to the Times yet? Visit WashingtonTimes.com/George and get 25% off your annual subscription. A Seattle-based Coast Guard cutter is almost halfway through a months-long Arctic voyage through the ice-choked Northwest Passage, which will eventually result in a circumnavigation of North America. Military reporter Mike Glenn reports the mission of the Healy, a 420-foot-long ice-breaking ship, is to stage military exercises along allies and to carry out high-latitude scientific research. Another assignment is to demonstrate a U.S. presence in the Arctic as long-term warming trends reduce the ice and dramatically increase maritime traffic in the region. Russia has at least 40 heavy ice-breaking ships, including 6 that are nuclear-powered, and intends to use the Northern Sea route through the Arctic frequently. The Healy is one of only 2 icebreakers in the U.S. Coast Guard's fleet. And finally, Dave Boyer and Mika Selner report election audits are popping up in states less as a way to ensure election integrity and more as a campaign tool for next year's midterm election. Democratic Pennsylvania Attorney General Josh Shapiro sued last week to block a subpoena to state officials in an investigation of results in the Keystone State's 2020 presidential election. Shapiro called the Republican-backed audit a sham and said he will do everything he can to protect Pennsylvanians' personal information. Elsewhere, one GOP operative in Wisconsin said he hopes the results from the recent Maricopa County, Arizona audit will persuade his state's Republican Party to stop focusing on the nonsense of the 2020 election and actually work to win races that are coming up next year. Find all of today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and follow us for free on all of your favorite podcast platforms. Just search Washington Times. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at WashTimes for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.